What's up, Fighting Bulls? Today we're taking a look at BEEM Global, and more specifically, what the chart is telling us right now. BEEM has caught our attention because we're seeing a potentially bullish technical setup developing around the $1.57 to $1.60 area. But here's the important part. This isn't simply a situation where the stock is going up, so we jump in. We're looking at the pattern, volume, VWAP, moving averages, support, resistance, and risk management to determine what would need to happen before this becomes an interesting momentum trade. And as always, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. We're not telling you to buy or sell BEEM. So let's break down the chart. At the time of our chart, BEEM is trading around $1.58, and the stock is up roughly 15% on the session. The first thing that jumps out at us is the structure. BEEM has been making a series of higher lows. We've seen the stock establish areas around approximately $1.38, then $1.47, then $1.50, then $1.54, and now we're pushing toward $1.57 and $1.60. That's important because it shows buyers are becoming increasingly willing to step in at higher prices. At the same time, we're seeing the stock repeatedly run into resistance around $1.57 to $1.60. When you combine higher lows with relatively consistent resistance, you get what looks like an ascending triangle or bullish compression pattern. And this is exactly the type of structure momentum traders like to watch. But there's one major condition. We need confirmation. The most important level on this chart right now is $1.60. Why? Because that's where the sellers have repeatedly shown up. If BEEM pushes through $1.60, that's not automatically a buy signal. We want to see three things. First, price breaks $1.60. Second, volume increases. And third, the stock holds above $1.60 instead of immediately falling back below it. That third part is extremely important. A stock can spike through resistance for a few minutes, attract traders, and then collapse back underneath the breakout level. That's what we call a false breakout. So for this setup, we're not interested in simply seeing a wick above $1.60. We want to see $1.60 become support. If that happens, the technical picture becomes considerably more interesting. Now, let's look at the indicators. BEEM session VWAP is around $1.51. The stock is currently above VWAP, which is a positive sign. We also have the 20-period moving average around $1.59 and the 50-period around $1.56. And the 200 period is around $1.42. Notice something here. Price is currently above the 50 period and 200 period averages. That's giving us a short-term bullish bias. But again, we don't want to ignore the fact that the stock is sitting directly underneath resistance. So I describe it as short-term bullish, but waiting for breakout confirmation. If BEEM can establish itself above $1.60 while maintaining volume, the thesis gets stronger. If it can't, we need to respect the resistance. Now, let's talk about the actual levels. For this hypothetical $500 trading example, we're looking at a potential entry between $1.59 and $1.61, but only after confirmation. For simplicity, let's use $1.60 as our hypothetical entry. With $500, that would give us approximately 312 shares, costing about $499.20. Now, let's talk risk. Our hypothetical stop would be around $1.52. Why $1.52? Because that's where several technical areas begin coming together. We're near VWAP and the consolidation area. If we get a breakout above $1.60 and then BEEM falls back through $1.52, the bullish breakout thesis has probably failed. At $1.60 with a $1.52 stop, we're risking approximately 8 cents per share. With 312 shares, that's approximately $24.96 of planned downside. That's about 5% of the account, and that's important. This is not a conservative trade. This is a small cap momentum setup, and these stocks can move extremely quickly. Now, let's talk about the upside. Instead of just hoping for $2, let's establish targets. Our first target is approximately $1.70. That produces about $31.20 in profit. Our second target is $1.75. That would produce approximately $46.80 in profit. Then we have the big psychological level, $2.00. If BEEM reaches $2 from a $1.60 entry, that's a 40-cent move. With 312 shares, that's approximately $124.80 in profit. And finally, we can watch $2.10 as a potential extended target. That would represent approximately $156 in profit. The idea here is to scale out rather than trying to perfectly predict the top. For example, a hypothetical approach could be taking some shares off around $1.70, more around $1.75, and allowing the remaining shares to run toward $2 or higher if momentum continues. Now, let's map out the zones, starting with resistance. The first and most important resistance zone is $1.57 to $1.60. That's the breakout zone. Above that, we're watching $1.65 to $1.70. Then $1.75. And if $1.75 breaks with momentum, the next major psychological target becomes $2.00. Now for support. Our first zone is $1.54 to $1.56. Below that, $1.49 to $1.52. This is critical because it overlaps with VWAP and recent consolidation. Then we have a larger support zone around $1.35 to $1.39, and finally $1.10. Obviously, we don't want to see BEEM near those if the breakout is working. Now here's the part I really want everyone watching. Volume. BEEM had significantly heavier volume during the earlier explosive move. But as the stock has approached $1.60, the volume hasn't shown the same kind of explosive expansion. That's a potential warning sign, because a breakout without volume can turn false very quickly. So the simple fighting bulls rule, $1.60 plus strong volume equals confirmation. $1.60 with weak volume equals caution. And a rejection around $1.60 followed by a break below $1.52 means the bullish setup is failing. That's the difference between chasing a stock and actually having a trading plan. That's how we stay in this game long term. So let's bring it together. BEEM is showing a potentially bullish ascending triangle. The short-term trend is bullish because price is above VWAP and the major moving averages. But we're at a decision point, $1.60. For our $500 setup, we're looking for an entry after confirmation, a stop at $1.52, and target scaling up to $2.00 and beyond. The most important thing isn't just touching $1.60, it's seeing $1.60 turn into support after the breakout. That's the goal. We define the setup, define the risk, and let the market tell us if we're right. Above $1.60 with volume is bullish, below $1.52 is bearish. That's the core structure. Remember, this is educational analysis, not financial advice. Trade your plan, manage your risk, and stay disciplined. This is 5,280 Fighting Bulls. Let's see what BEEM does next.